Welcome to the SwimSwam podcast. I'm your host, Coleman Hodges. Joining me today, she is an Olympic champion, five-time Olympic medalist, undefeated in the NCAA in breaststroke, and most recently, the Deaconess Aquatic Center and Lilly King competition pool went up in Evansville, Indiana. And here today to discuss it is Lilly King.
Hey, everybody. Good to be here.
Lilly, how's it going?
Pretty good. Just kind of, hanging out at home, getting ready for practice. But it's been a good couple of weeks coming down from ISL in Italy and getting some good training in.
So tell me about the Deaconess Aquatic Center. When I know this has been kind of on the horizon for a while, this has been something you've talked about. When did this first become a reality or a possibility in your mind?
So this has been a very, very long work in progress. I remember my mom going to a meeting about, us kind of creating a new pool in Evansville when I was 8. So, yeah, it's been in the works for a very, very long time. But I believe 2 years ago was when I went home for a city council meeting when they were gonna, decide the fate of the new pool. And luckily, it passed and we got the funding for it. And the pool went up about a couple of weeks ago. So so we have a brand new, beautiful facility in Evansville and couldn't be more excited.
That's pretty amazing. What were the conditions like when you were swimming as an 8-year-old or as a child, youth in Evansville?
Yeah. So I grew up swimming at Lloyd Pool. So I know pretty much nobody who's going to watch this podcast has been to Lloyd Pool, but if you just want to Google Lloyd Pool Evansville, you'll see it's pretty disgusting. It was a place that I'm sure, when it was built in the late 70s, early 80s, that it was a great facility, but just was not, kept up to standards. It was still a 50-meter pool. But we had one bulkhead that never moved. We didn't have regulation blocks. And then one side of the pool was 28 yards. It was just not a place that you'd think, someone like me would come out of, swimming like that. So, it was time, and it was probably time 15 years ago, honestly. So, it's just really nice to see that the city has the pool they finally deserve.
Did you get to go to the grand opening? I saw it was virtual. So have you actually seen the pool yet?
Yeah. So it was mostly virtual.
Okay.
So yeah, I did go to the opening. There were still probably about 200 to 300 people there. So we did kind of the grand opening, the big reveal, and then we had our first race. So I was in the first race along with a couple other kids from the community, and it was a pretty cool moment.
Nice. What was the race? Was it 100 breast?
No, it was just a 50. And It was kind of funny because I didn't know what we were doing. So I was asking the 8-year-olds in the lane next to me what we were swimming. But yeah, it was just a 50, stroke your choice, whatever you want. So I did a 50 free because I hadn't warmed up. But yeah, it was fun.
Nice. So I have to ask, in Lloyd Pool, did you swim in the 28-yard side ever?
Yeah. So I think Evansville is a little bit bigger than everyone thinks it is. So there's still, I believe we shared the pool with 7 other high schools. So it was 7 high schools plus a club team, and we would rotate. We have 4 lanes during high school season, which in Indiana, everybody swims high school. So, I'd swim in 4 lanes with my club or 4 lanes with my high school, and we would rotate around the pool. So half the time, when I was in an age group, a high school swimmer, I was swimming in a 28-yard pool.
Whoa, that's wild. Did you have your stroke counts down and everything for the 28-yard format?
Not really. It was one you just kind of had to wing it, and it was I want a 104 100 freestyle. That's pretty good on the long end. So there was really no standard for it. It was just kind of wing it.
Yeah. So there's 7 plus other high schools in Evansville, Indiana. So it's a pretty big town.
Yeah, it's the third largest town in Indiana. So,
Okay.
yeah, we've got about 100, I want to say about around 120,000 people. So,
Okay.
a town that deserves, a nice, well, it's actually 65 meters, but a nice 50-meter pool. So, yeah, pretty crazy.
Nice. That's exciting. And then
Yeah.
also the Lilly King competition pool. What is it like just to have a pool, especially in your hometown, named after you?
Pretty crazy, especially because I feel like, I didn't do much to get the pool going, other than swim fast. But it was pretty special. I kind of like to joke that I'm the little Sebastian of Evansville, Indiana. So, it was so neat. That was kind of like the surprise is that it was the Lilly King competition pool. Like we had kind of known all along because my mom was on the task force that got the pool built.
Gotcha.
But yeah, like walking in and seeing my name on this, enormous, just crazy nice brand new pool was pretty cool.
Yeah, that seems
Yeah.
like a really great experience. Obviously, you've done a lot to deserve it. I think it's with your work in the pool. So speaking of which, like you said, you're coming off of ISL. How do you feel like your time in Naples went?
It was great, honestly. I feel like we hype up that like first race back from the Olympics so much. And well, at least I did, in 2016. But it was so nice just being able to like kind of come back to racing with the same people I was racing with, 3 weeks before, but it just be a little bit more casual. So it was actually so much fun. I was kind of, floating around groups, not doing the practices that my coaches were giving me. And I was swimming with, um, a lot of my other teammates, which is kind of the beauty of ISL is that I could train with Molly or I could, train with Emily Escobedo and do all these, different kinds of workouts that I wasn't used to doing. And just kind of switching it up a little bit. So, it was actually really, really fun.
That was one thing I wanted to ask you specifically because I'm obviously not a swimmer, so I don't get how you guys can go for like 6 weeks and race at a really high level and still like train. So that always just mystifies me. But it sounds like you did a lot of switching it up, a lot of different kinds of training, and especially
Mhm.
having two of the best American breaststrokers
Yes,
alongside with you and Emily and
definitely helped.
Molly. Yeah. So what can you describe what your training was like, or did you have an idea of what you needed to do? Or are you just like, hey, I'm going to do this today, I'm going to do this tomorrow, whatever.
Yeah, I had kind of a general plan in my head of what I wanted to do or what I needed to do. And then normally I just kind of like look around and pick a practice that looked good and do that. So, there were days I do the Tennessee practice or days I do the NC State practice or, we had a bunch of different groups that were still in the water and working really hard. So I just kind of look around and, and see what looked good. And I was like, all right, that's the one I'm, picking out of the box today. So, definitely a lot more of like casual type. I don't want to say casual training because I feel like I was still, getting after it a little bit. But it was just different from what I'm used to.
We've seen you swim really fast in every course, yards, meters, short course, long course. What's your relationship like with short course meters? How do you feel about racing in that format?
I love short course meters. To be honest with you, it's it might be my favorite now, honestly. Because long course is just hard. Like let's be real. Like nobody's favorite is long course except for maybe Haley Flickener. Like and then yards, at least for breaststroke, is just so hypoxic. I've kind of struggled at least in like the 200 yards. But it's that like 2 extra strokes in short course meters I'm really vibing with right now. So yeah, I honestly I'm loving it.
Heading into or moving through the ISL season, how do you feel like you progress with your racing? Do you feel like it took you a while to get warmed up, or, like that first match in Cali, we saw like Coleman break the world record and
Yeah.
you guys won by like 700 points.
Yeah. I don't know. I think the first meet was definitely a little bit rough for me. Just, the way the schedule is set up, the breaststrokers and the backstrokers really front load the meet. So that first day I've got the 200 right into the 50, right into the medley relay with probably
Yeah.
30 to 40 minutes in between each. So it's really hard changing gears from the 200 into the 50, at least for me. And then the 100 at the end just hurts. So I think just kind of readjusting to what I was doing, in Budapest the year before, and kind of remembering how the flow of the meet goes, and just getting back into racing after the Olympics. The first meet was a little wobbly. But then just, it's so great racing over and over and over again, because you get that routine and you like have things down that you just don't during the regular season, I guess. So it's one of those things where the repetition, at least for me, helps a lot.
Yeah. How do you change those gears, especially, you swim the 200, 30 to 40 minutes later, you have to get in for the 50.
Yeah, that's been something I've been trying to figure out a little bit. Mostly because I feel like for the last 3-4 years, I'm training for the 200. I'm not training for the 50. So the 50 is something that has typically come very naturally to me, and it's maybe not coming as natural anymore as it did when I was, say 18, 19 years old. But you just kind of got to wing it. I'll usually warm down and then maybe do like an assisted cord or something to kind of get my tempo going back up again. But it's just something you have to figure out.
That's kind of funny hearing, because usually as people age in swimming, you're like, oh, the 50s, I've got some more natural speed, but you're kind of the opposite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like to joke that Ray beat the sprinter out of me. So we'll see if it comes back. I'm not sure.
How did you spend the 2 or 3 weeks between Olympics and ISL? Were you in the pool at all, or did you just kind of go, all right, I need a break?
Yeah. I got right back in. So I took after my last swim in Tokyo, I had 4 days, which included travel day. And then I came back to Bloomington and got right back in the water. But in that time I was just doing singles. I've learned that not doing anything for me is not good. I need a schedule, or I need to be doing something at least. So for me, that was just going to morning practice. So most of the pros and a couple of the incoming freshmen would go to like a morning practice, and then I kind of have the rest of the day to, do things. So yeah, I kind of just got right back in.
Nice. I mean, but yeah, routine seems something that's extremely important to a lot of people, especially swimmers, just because our lives are so routined all the time.
Yeah.
How did you spend the rest of your days? What kind of things were you up to?
Watching Netflix, I feel like it was kind of like my quarantine schedule. Like I'd go to practice and then I'd hang out with my cat and watch Netflix. I went to Louisville to see my grandparents and my family one weekend. But it was a pretty quick turnaround, not gonna lie.
Is it nice for you being able to go back to Bloomington where your training base is, because like knowing, oh, I don't have to go to Washington, DC or San Francisco to go see my family, because they're like right down the road?
It's very easy. It's nice. Like, I see my parents all the time, but I've only been home like twice this year, but they're either driving here to see me or driving through here to see my brother in Michigan. So it's, I still see my family all the time, even though I don't necessarily have to go home, but it's really nice that, on the weekends I can be like, hey, I think I'm going to go home this weekend, where, I think, most people can't do that, where they decided to go to college and mine just happened to be down the road.
Yeah, that does seem very convenient. And so then heading into ISL after coming off of singles, heading into that first meet, were you nervous, excited? How did you feel about getting into racing that quickly after the Olympics?
At first I wasn't quite sure. And then like once we got into it, when we were in Italy, we were in our team meeting and I was looking around. I was like, I'm really excited to swim. And I don't know if everybody else felt that way, but ISL is just so fun for me that it was pretty easy to get back into it. But kind of like after having like a year of not really having any serious swimming, I didn't, like during COVID, I didn't really feel like I needed a break. So I wasn't quite as like mentally exhausted as I normally am after a big meet. So I think that helped too.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool thing to have. I was curious, you've come off 2 Olympics now, and like you just mentioned, you've come off a lot of big meets generally, and I'm guessing you probably take a break after each one. But after this one, obviously with that extra COVID year and kind of a longer road to the Olympic buildup, did you feel fatigued from swimming at all, or did you feel the way you expected to in terms of, okay, I want to get back in the pool, or maybe I want to take some more time off?
Yeah, I think COVID was a blessing in disguise for me, at least my mental state, because I was actually talking to Cody about this morning. But like after Rio, like I hated swimming, and I didn't really realize I hated swimming until I get to the end of the season, and I was like, I need like time off. Like I really need like 3 weeks off and to not do anything. And then COVID hit, and like all of that was taken away, and I was like, wait, I actually like swimming again. So it was kind of, it was very strange. It was a strange, like, just an all of a sudden, like flip of the switch. And I was like, wait, this is really cool that I get to do this. And that, I'm doing everything that I wanted to do as an 8-year-old. Like I get to do that now. So it was really just a blessing in disguise for me, and kind of opened my eyes to realize, like, this isn't, what I'm doing, what this group here at IU is doing. This isn't normal. And I should, be really appreciative of it and take it to my advantage, because that was something I don't think I was doing before.
That is really cool. Did you see that play out in the way you approach training, or what you were able to do in training after that light kind of switched at all?
Yeah, I think obviously I know each training group had their ups and downs, but we were lucky enough to, whether we were driving to Indy or swimming in a pond or whatever, we were able to, find somewhere to swim pretty soon after things shut down. But it's a group of, 4 or 5 people, and, one of you has a bad day, and then everybody has a bad day. So I think we realized that kind of the toxic energy, if like one person was having a bad day, would throw everybody off. So even when I was really, really miserable, I'd try to show up to practice with a smile and like fake being happy. And it shockingly turned my mood around. So I've always been a big person on fake it till you make it. And that was a prime example of fake it till you make it. So I think that just made the experience a lot more enjoyable.
Is that aspect of the of the pro culture something you guys talk about, or like more of a tangible thing for you at all? Or is that just kind of, you guys get the idea and then you all independently kind of act accordingly?
It's not something we ever really discuss. I think it's just a very natural chemistry between the group. And, we're very selective of the people who get to come train here. And if someone, asks and they say, hey, I'd really like to come train, at Indiana, that decision goes through Ray, and then it goes to the pros. So, it's one where it's a very cohesive group, because we talk and we listen to each other, and we, also just try to feed off of each other's energy.
That seems, I mean, obviously you've guys found success with it. So it seems like it's working. And I also feel like just Indiana has had a lot of new faces coaching wise come in. Do you feel like that has had an impact on that pro group, and just in the last 12 months?
I wouldn't say it's had too much of an impact on the pro group. I definitely think it has affected the college team a lot. Unfortunately, that's just, you have those kind of lower level assistant jobs, and the goal of that job is to get another job somewhere, to get a head coaching job, or to get a better assistant job. So it's not unusual, I think, to see turnover through those positions. But the big thing for me is that Ray has been a constant since I've been here. And as long as Ray's here, I'm here. So I think that's been, he, and Corey as well, have been such big rocks for us to lean on, that it hasn't really affected us at all.
That seems like a really nice situation to have, like you said, just to have those really big rocks that are constant, and has seemed to give consistency to that pro group. So then, you kind of get your training down, you kind of mentally, you have this shift heading into trials. Did you feel pretty prepared? To obviously trials, there's basically just one job to do. Did you feel pretty prepared for that job?
Yeah, definitely. Felt in or got in feeling good, and definitely a very different experience at trials this time than in 2016. I really enjoyed trials in 2016, and I did not enjoy trials this time around. Just mostly because I felt that I was so much more emotionally invested in other people. Because in 2016 I didn't know anybody. So I was like, oh, they made the team. That's cool. Oh no, they didn't make it. That stinks. But then I'm I'm at this point, I feel like a national team veteran at this point, and come in and I'm seeing like friends that I've made through the years, like having emotional breakdowns on the side of the pool. And I'm like, I don't think I like this meet anymore. But yeah, as far as like physical preparation, I felt good. I felt ready to
go. I feel like I'm totally there with you in terms of just that. It's not a fun meet.
No.
You meet people, and everyone has a different experience. So how do you keep it within yourself, right? I mean, like swimmers have all this practice of like focusing on their lane or focusing what they need to do, but at that meet, I feel like it's so much harder because people's dreams are getting made or they're getting crushed. And
yeah.
So how did you navigate that throughout the 8 days?
I think for me, the thing I kept saying was I have to be a robot. So no emotion too high, no emotion too low. And I think that was especially true after the 100, when, I saw Annie get third, and I was like, oh man, like, I hope she keeps it together, and I hope I keep it together. Cause it was just, it's something like you never want to see happen. So you just kind of have to go through the meet and like, blinders on, don't get too excited, don't get too down. And just, you have to function like that throughout those 8 days, or that meat's going to eat you alive.
Yeah. In terms of like outside the pool, at a lot of meets at like an NCAAs or at an Olympics or whatever meet, you hear a lot about, like the van rides were great. And like, everyone's singing or chatting or whatever, like it trials. Does that happen too? Or is everyone kind of just like stone faced and quiet when you're heading to the pool?
Yeah, it depends. I really try to not be like that. Cause I know like I just operate better when I'm kind of goofing around and having fun. But yeah, a lot of people are just, don't want to talk to you, or, they're just listening to music the whole time, or they're so focused on their race, which also just disrupts from their normal routine. Like I was talking about having ISL routine, all routines are completely disrupted at trials because people just start freaking out. So, yeah, it's very interesting and not always the most fun.
So, so then after coming off of trials, is there a period where you just kind of have to de-stress or like process everything before you're like, okay, now it's time to focus on the Olympics?
I guess technically, yes, there should be a time where you're able to de-stress, but you can't. Like you're still, 3-4 weeks out of the Olympics. So it's pretty much just a very stress-filled like 2 months, and then you're done after that. So it's like, all right, just wait, push it off, and then I'll find a way to function as a normal human after the Olympics are over. So yeah.
Gotcha. So then, training camp heading into the Olympics again. You had done that before. Was that a very different experience as well? Just having training camp, traveling to Tokyo, than what it was for you in Rio?
To be honest with you, I don't remember very much from Rio. I think for me, like first time around and considering everything that happened during my races, it was so overwhelming. I think I kind of blacked it out. But yeah, this time around, it was interesting for me. I don't think training camp went as well as it could have, just because of, conditions out of my control, whether that be travel or pools that are a little warm, or I don't handle hot water well. So, being out in the Hawaii sun probably wasn't the best thing for me 2 weeks out of the Olympics. But yeah, it was definitely a little bit different just because I was more so on the veteran side and we had such a young team. But yeah, it was definitely a different feel, kind of trying to like get into just to know all the younger girls on the team. Cause it was just such a new group.
Yeah. Did you feel the weight of that responsibility in any fashion?
No, I don't think of it as a responsibility. It was just, something I like to do. I had a lot of really fantastic, veterans taking care of me. So it's not one where it's like, oh, I'm not focusing on me. I have to focus on these kids. It's just, I feel like it's natural at this point.
Gotcha. Nice. So then, your Olympic performances, can you break them down for me? What did you make of your individual races in Tokyo?
Yeah, quite literally the most up and down meet of my life. So the 100 was weird. Came off my prelim and it kind of felt like a normal prelim. I was like, all right, my prelim at trials wasn't great. So I was like, okay, whatever. It's just like it was at trials. I'll be fine the next night, or the next morning, I guess. And then semis wasn't great. And Tatiana beat me in semis. And I was like, well, that hasn't happened in 5 years. That was kind of weird. And then, the final was like just a crapshoot, like who can take it down the stretch. And, it's the 100 is one of those things I will never be able to explain. I have no regrets with it. I really don't. I did everything I could leading up to it in training. I did everything right that morning. I, got up, took a hot shower, got myself ready. I, had coffee. I ate the right breakfast. I did the right warm up. Like I did everything right and everything that I was supposed to do. And it just wasn't there. So, I feel like people around me and maybe even myself are like looking for an answer as to why did I not win that race? But I don't think there is, it's just some things happen that way. And that's what I had that day. So, coming off of that, I was just trying to make it back in the 200 breaststroke because, just seeing how traditionally how, my meets have gone, the 100 is always the best. The 200 is like, okay, get through it.
Yeah.
So at that point, after having that 100, I said, I just hope I make semis. And then I swam the prelim of the 200 and it was pretty good. And then, semi hurt a little bit and then came back and said, you know what, if I don't go for this, I'm going to regret it for the rest of my life. And Ray said, well, you always say you're going to go for it, but you never really do. You like kind of half-ass going for it. And I was like, no, I'm going to do it. I'm really going to do it this time. So, just kind of got up and freaking sent it. And honestly, that's one of the races I am most proud of in my career. And even though, I was second, I dropped 2 seconds as a 24-year-old. Like what? That doesn't happen. That was one I was just really proud of to be able to finish the meet on. And be able to finally break 220.
I mean, there was a lot of, it seemed like there was a lot of barriers broken in that final swim.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Coming off of the 100, I mean, how good of a job do you feel like you did at being a robot, at not letting that 100 get in your head or shake your confidence or whatever heading into that 200? Yeah.
Emotionally, I was great. I'm kind of a weird person where when I'm like in shock, and this kind of happened after I got DQ'd in 2019 in the 200. Like if I'm in genuine shock, like after a race, I don't really feel anything. I'm kind of like, all right, that happened. Like, let's drop it and move on. And that's what I tried to do. But after that 100, Ray told me to take the night off and I said, okay, I'll just hang out in the village. And, I was absolutely sick to my stomach. Like, I felt so weird, like inside. But it was one thing where I was like, listen, like I've got potentially 4 or 5 more swims in this meet. Like, I got to get over it. It's one thing where, I don't want to have that one race determine the outcome of my Olympics because the meet's not over. So I just kind of had to drop it and move on, which is something I feel like I've done well in the past. And apparently it worked this time too.
Hearing you describe that, like I got a little sick. Like that sounds like a hard thing to get over, but that's really cool. I mean, obviously like you said, you've experienced that before and you were able to do it. So you did not swim on the mixed medley relay prelims or finals. Is that right?
No.
Okay. Were you expecting to at all? Or is that just kind of, okay, well, if I get the call, I get the call. And if not, then that's that.
The mixed medley is always a toss up. I figured after the 100 final, it was a no-go. Mm-hmm. But before the meet started, yeah, of course I expected to be on that relay. At trials, I was 104.7, which is as fast as I'd been since 2017. And, yeah, of course I expected it. But yeah, after that 100 final, I was like, maybe they're not going to take me for this one, especially, knowing like there are so few female breaststrokers on that relay. But yeah, that was kind of a tough pill to swallow watching that one go off without me.
Yeah. And then, again, in the medley relay, just having the night swim, but knowing that that was a prelim swim, which have you ever swam on a prelims relay before?
Nope. I've never been on the prelims relay, but I think one thing for that is that now, like, I feel like I can say I have done it all. I've won. I have had a disappointing third. I've had a very exciting second. I've been disqualified at a major international meet, and I've been on prelims and finals relays. So I feel like, now I can kind of check that one off my list and say I've done it all. And yeah, that again, like, I was supposed to be, I think, the only returning veteran on that relay. So, and then there were none all of a sudden. So, all right, Reagan, excuse me. But yeah, it was a little strange watch. I feel like it was like almost an out of body experience. Like I felt like I should have been in the relay, even though I obviously didn't earn that spot, but, it was still cool being able to watch it and like hang out with the team the last day, but I can't say I loved it.
Yeah, totally understandable. It's so then again, coming off that meet, like you said, it's been like 6 weeks, 2 months of just like, stress and focus. Were you able to have time or to have the ample equipment you felt like you needed to just kind of process and let it sink in?
Yeah, I don't think I ever let things sink in fully. So
okay.
I'm like saying I'm totally good now and I'm like ready to swim and all these different things, but like watch me like February be like, I don't want to do it right now. But yeah, that's kind of how I handle things. I just kind of, if something happens, good or bad, I drop it and move on. So that's, I think, how I'm going to continue to handle everything, and hopefully that turns out okay.
Gotcha. Do you with ISL, playoffs are looming, and then there's kind of this weird short season where world champs or trials are at the end of April. Do you feel like that's a doable or manageable or like good schedule for you?
I think that's a great schedule for me because we get to kind of chill during the summer. That's what I'm looking forward to. But yeah, I think, it's such a long season. And why is it such a long season? Like why does it have to be, August to August every year? Why can't it be, August to May? Why not? So I'm excited to kind of try something new out. And I think it's definitely doable.
Nice. Do you know if I'm pretty sure they haven't announced the roster yet, but do you know if you'll go to Short Course Worlds? I'm
not going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Just sticking with ISL.
Okay.
For right now. Mm-hmm.
Nice. So then right now, you've been home from Naples for a couple of weeks. What is right now looking like? Is it like grinding hard work, or is it more just like, yeah, we're getting back into things?
I'm traveling a lot on the weekends. So like Monday to Thursday is grind time. And then the weekends is kind of, whatever. So about half and half right now.
That seems like a nice balance.
I think it is. I don't think it's going to last, but I'll take it for right now.
Nice. Do you Are you on your own schedule, or like do all the pros practice at the same time? And like, is everyone on the same schedule in that regard?
Every single person that swims at IU has their own individual schedule. So I think that's something really cool that our coaches do. Like, I don't think there are very few people who have the exact same schedule throughout the week. Like Annie and I don't even have the same schedule throughout the week.
Okay.
So yeah, I do my own thing. And it's all like tapered towards what I need and what's going to make me faster. And I think that's pretty cool. Yeah. But yes, I'm on my own.
Gotcha. Nice. That is pretty cool to just have your own individual thing. Is there anything new you're trying right now in training, or anything you like wanted to sprinkle in or throw in there in the pool or out of the pool?
I'm trying to think. Kind of coming off of ISL, instead of doing like my Wednesday like lactate or speed practice, I've been doing like this disgusting IM active rest set, which I'm not a fan of, but hopefully this week I won't have to do it. But just kind of throwing a little bit more aerobic in right now and try to get, back into a little bit better shape before we head off for Eindhoven.
Nice. Well, Lilly, it's always great talking to you. I really appreciate you taking the time today to sit down and chat. Any parting thoughts for our audience before we sign off today?
Go see the new Deaconess Aquatic Center. It's pretty cool. It's a big pool. It's 65-meter tank and rec pool on the other side, splash park outside. It's pretty sweet. So if you get the chance to travel down to Evansville, check it out.
You've been listening to the SwimSwam podcast. Stay tuned for new episodes every week. You can take SwimSwam podcast on the go by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Look for links in the description below, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos as well.